you have to install React hook form library for project. So npm install React hook form and save. So first you need to install. You have to set up and install the hook form. After that, so to use hook form, in any component, you have to import use form hook. You have to import this use form hook. You need to import this hook. So generally we have to import use form. So from React hook form, you have to import this. So you need to install hook form and you need to import the hook form. Next, what you have to do is configure the form. Configure the form using use form hook. You have to configure the form using use form hook. If you have seen the configuration, actually formic configuration contains use formic with initial values on submit validate schema. Here we have to configure three references. One for register. This is for form name and it should use handle submit and it should use form state. Form state uses errors. That means form state uses an error is equal to use form. That means use form returns the form name, the submit functionality, and the errors. So use form returns these three. You need to configure them. So next, you need to write a function. So write a function to handle submit functionality. Write a function to handle submit functionality. So constant submit is equal to, it collects the values and it is going to handle those values. That means we will put some console log. What is it? Values. We need to write one submit function. That submit function will collect the values from the form and it will submit those values wherever you want. We have to write a function that is a function expression. And what is the function expression is so that is the submit action to perform. So next important is how to bind the how to bind with elements, text box, drop downs, check boxes. That means so you have to bind hook form. You have to bind hook form with the form elements using spread operator. You have to bind using spread operator. You have to bind using spread operator. So that means we have input type text and name is some username. Now, how do we bind here is, so we need to put a binding expression. In the binding expression, dot, 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 form name is register. Form field is username. And here we need to mention the validations. That means the form will refer to the field name and its validations. Validations you can write required. Required is a boolean true. We need to say min length. Min length is what? Some 4. So you have like max length. Max length is some 10. You want to write like pattern. Pattern is what? So you need to define some pattern. You know, pattern is written like this, slash, slash. Here we write regular expression. All the validations are defined inside the input like this. I hope you tried this, huh? Because they give a clean example also. You have to manage. And now, how to display error message? Actually, Formic have simple process, but here little lengthy. That means very complex little bit when compared to Formic. So how to display error message? Display errors by verifying the error type. By verifying the error type. We have to display errors by verifying the error type. That means if it is a required error, what message should come? If it is a pattern error, what error should come? How we do that is, we have to use that errors object. Errors dot field name. We have to use the field name. Field name. So field name, yeah. So we have to define the field name. And actually, this field name is nullable. Those nullable you will learn in TypeScript. Actually, majority of React library is built in TypeScript language. They are not JavaScript. Later we will change into TypeScript. First we will finish all the React learning with JavaScript. Then we will learn about TypeScript and we will build React application with the TypeScript. Actually, React library is inbuilt designed with the TypeScript language. So React libraries are inbuilt designed with TypeScript. Majority our projects are using JavaScript, but many projects are also using TypeScript. So Angular people, they don't have a choice now. Earlier they used to have, they have to use React Angular with JavaScript and TypeScript, but later they made TypeScript mandatory. That means Angular people have to mandatorily use TypeScript only. So, but React have a choice. You can go with TypeScript or JavaScript. But in future, we expect majority of TypeScript only because all the libraries are built with TypeScript. That's the reason some TypeScript syntaxes you will find in some libraries. Actually, this field uses question mark. What does question mark means? It is a nullable type. Question mark means nullable type. You know, question mark is a regular expression for 0 or 1 occurrence. That means 0 occurrence or 1 occurrence. That means the error may be there or error may not be there, right? The dot uses a type is equal to required. That means you need to write one condition. That means ternary operator. If it is required, then question mark. And question mark, what you have to do is your message. That means you can display the message here. So here we have to display some container. In the container, you have to show the message. Otherwise, colon, another message, what you want here. That means on true, on false. You have to display like this. You need to put the error messages like this. This span will be on true. This span will be on false. On true, on false, what content you want to show, that you have to display like this. So here you can use logical operators to handle multiple validation expressions. That means you can write and you can write or. How you can combine multiple expressions by using and or. So this is a third party library. So everyone is not satisfied with certain libraries every time. They depends on their requirement they choose. So let's see a basic implementation here. As I asked you yesterday, you must able to do this by yourself completely. Just I am giving one guidance here. So I will give you other third parties also, you try them more, right? So initially, let's do this. We will first install the library. What is it? npm install react hook form and save. That is the library. Okay, so let's add one component. In the components we have, so hook form demo. So hook form demo.jsx. So export function and hook form demo, right? And return a simple fragment container fluid. And here we put some register. we designed a form, and the form have to use some elements. One or two I will give. You can try other. So data term, we have like username, and we have a text box, and we have data term some mobile. So we have input type text. Now a submit button, button type as what? Submit, and it is a submit. Now how to configure the hook form? So first you need to import use form from React hook form. You have to import that there. After that, you need to configure the form. So constant, we have to configure some register, handle, submit, and form state. Form state will use what? Errors is equal to use form. It should use the form. Now we need to configure a submit functionality which will collect the values. And those values you can submit anywhere. Console.log, whatever values you collected from the form. And remember, form have to, on submit, it have to handle this function. It should send data to that function. So form have to use on submit. It should use handle submit. Handle submit is expecting some data on valid, what, where to send the data. Data should be sent to which function? Submit. That means handle submit will fire up the submit event, and it will verify whether the form is valid. If form is valid, it will send all the form data to this function. It executes that function. That function will collect the values and use those values. How to attach the elements here? So this is having a name. What is it? Username. And how to attach by using spread operator, dot 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 register. It is expecting field name. Field name is username. And it is expecting some errors. What are the errors you want? Required. Required you can set true. So we have min length. Min length is 4 like this. Okay, that is the point. Now what about the second text box? This name is what? Mobile. And it should use register, and field name is mobile. And what are the fields? It is also some required is true, and it uses a pattern. Pattern, you write an expression slash plus 91 slash D 10-digit number. So this is how you write the bindings. Now how to display the error messages? We have a data definition below, text danger. Here, to display error message, we have to put a binding expression. In this, we need a ternary operator. Here we have to access errors. Field name. Field name is what? Username. Username question mark dot. What is it? Type. Type is equal to which type? It is required. If it is required, question mark. What is the message? In a span, we will put a message as what? Name required. Otherwise, if it is not required, span should be empty. We need to put an empty span. That's it. If you want to write multiple expressions, that means this is the binding expression you written. Remember, this is related to one error. That is related to one error. Suppose here I written this is related to one error. You can put multiple. That means you put in parenthesis. This is one expression. And you put double ampersand. That means second expression. And what is the second expression? Second expression, that means I'm just giving for clarity's sake. So this is end. What is the second expression? Second expression is what? Username type. This time type is what? Min length. If it is min length, then you should say name too short. Name too short. That message should come. That is how we have to display the errors. This doesn't look so simple like you have seen in your general validation. That means this is again in another parenthesis I will use. So this is another expression. Two expressions we are writing. One expression required, another is what? Million. Million. The same approach you need to follow for the mobile. That means now let's copy this. And for mobile, we put a definition. This name is what? Mobile. And we will put as mobile required. And what is the next one? If mobile, type. Type is what? Pattern. Pattern related error. So we put a message saying that invalid mobile. Now this is the hook form. We will keep this in the startup. So hook form demo, that is in the startup. Now we have the hook form demo in the startup. So this is the form. And you click on submit, then it has to display this. It is highlighting the message. I am typing something and you can see name too short. And you see here, so I am entering something, it's fine. You entered plus 9, it says invalid mobile, 98765432110. And we are starting with what? Plus 91, plus 9. Oh, we are starting with plus 91. So 10. Now it is fine. And when I submit, that means it should submit the value and it will show. Same thing. It depends on how you write your validations. This is little complex in validation messages. So, but this is another approach of writing the forms and designing. So what is advantage here is you don't need to depend completely on third-party schemas. You can just use HTML validation. But we know that HTML validations are not enough. We have to depend on some custom validations also. We have to write our own functions. That's the reason it depends on the requirement of the project and the companies which form they use. There is another popular one is Telerik. Telerik is very popularly used. So that means technologies like Microsoft, companies like IBM, these are the direct customers of Telerik. Those people, projects, all projects depends on Telerik. Especially if you get a call from any Microsoft based companies, Microsoft based technologies, then they will ask knowledge of Telerik. Telerik is not a free one even to try. You have to pay. But you can go to their website, you can explore and you can see how the forms are designed and how they are implemented. But you can do that only when you buy the Telerik library. But you should you should do this by yourself. You should able to explore everything by yourself. So I will just give one example here. So one more is there, right? Right. What you have to do is bind, handle, submit to form container. That's also we have to do. Form on submit, we have to use handle submit, and it should call the submit function. So this is example hook form demo.jsx. That is example for that. Right. So now we are aware of how to design a form and how to collect the data from the form, how to validate the data, and how to submit. These are very important for bindings. So now finally you are good with the techniques which are so data binding techniques. In data binding, you are aware of one-way binding. Another one is two-way binding. Two-way binding. You know style binding, you know class binding, and you know about event binding. You know about so API, AJAX calls. So you know about how to handle the forms. Forms. These are the key concepts you have learned up to now. How to handle bindings, style, class binding, event bindings, how to deal with various types of events, how do you handle API AJAX calls. But API AJAX calls, we learned only get methods. You will see post, put, delete like operations. And you learned about forms. Now, after understanding this, you have to know about another concept, that is component properties. You have to know about component properties. So in a component, you learnt about style binding, class binding, event binding like this. Actually, what is the purpose of component? The purpose of component is to create reusable design. We can reuse, we can easily extend. So the main concept of component is reusability. Reusability. For example, I told you we have a date time picker. Date time picker, I want a date time picker in several places. But that date time picker is not suitable for our requirement, which is given by HTML. Then we can design our own date time picker and we can use it anywhere we want. We can reuse it. But every time we don't want in the same way. We need to design a component in such a way that it must be customizable. Suppose I want to provide a login screen. In that login screen, what should be the login title? What should be the login user ID passwords? That they will decide. What elements they want inside, they will decide. That means we will create a component. So they will decide what contents they want in their component. And every time it is not same. They will change according to the requirements. For example, I will tell you, you might have used Bootstrap already, we know. Get Bootstrap is there. In Get Bootstrap, you can see here, I will go to documents. In the documents of Get Bootstrap, you can see they have components. So components is not a new concept. It's there in JavaScript also. In JavaScript also, you can create a component. We call them as web components. But nobody does that because that is very lengthy. You know already, you will learn JavaScript, but you know that directly JavaScript is not used in any project. You will learn JavaScript. I hope you people know no project in the world directly uses JavaScript. Majority projects use JavaScript libraries like jQuery, React, frameworks like Angular. No, directly no JavaScript is used. So that is the reason many people don't learn about components in JavaScript and not required also because we are not using them. But we can build same like React components. You can build reusable components in JavaScript. Reusable component means you can create your own element like a button element, like a text box element. You can create your own elements, That is possible. Actually, when you see these components, suppose you see they give a component navbar. This navbar is one component. The navbar component, they give a design for the component like this. This is the navbar design actually. This is navbar design. That means they have a lot of designs for the navbar. You see navbar design. Now the point is you must design a navbar like this. But the people who are implementing this navbar, they will decide what title they should have, what menu they should have, what color they should have, that they will decide. But the design, the logic, functionality, you write it and give it to them. They must be able to customize it. That means they will decide the title, they will decide the menus, they will decide the colors effects. How you can design a component which can change according to the situation. How to design a component which can change according to the situation means according to their requirements. So that means you saw we designed Netflix. We designed Netflix. When we designed Netflix, we created a lot of components. We created register component. What we done in that register component, we accessed that register component and used many times. We can use many times. But every time it is rendering same, but it should change. It should change according to the situation. So let's see how to design a component which can change. How to design a component we can customize according to the requirements. So let's see how to create that. So what I will do here is in this means how we create such components. So what is component we know? How to design a component also we know. Components are designed by using what? Function. Now tell me in JavaScript how you can modify a function. How you can modify a function, its functionality. Generally, a function will do the same work every time. Suppose I call the name, it will do the same work every time. I call name 2 times, I call name 3 times, every time it will do the same. How you will design a function which can change according to situation? Who is responsible for changing the functionality of a function? That is under the control of parameters. That is under the control of parameters. That means if anyone asks you like, what is the purpose of a parameter in a function? The purpose of parameter in a function is to modify the function. Functions are modified by using parameters. Parameterless function cannot be modified, but parameterized function can be modified. We can modify according to the situation. And actually, a function component with parameter, these are called properties. These are called properties. For example, we have input. Input is a component. Input is a component. This input component have a property called type. It have a property called type. That type will decide whether it is a text box, whether it is a password, whether it is a number. Am I right? That means what is the component named input and what is its property type? What type is doing? It is determining what should be the input type. That means it is able to change the input. In one situation, it will be what type? Text. In another situation, it will be password, number. It can change. It can change it. So usually you have required. What is required? Required is a property. It will verify whether there is a value inside the text box or not. That means there is a logic for it. That means these components have some properties with built-in logic. Like this, we can build our own component. But when you create a component, you should have some properties to modify it. And how do we pass the properties? How do we define the properties? Let's see. So, what is the purpose of a component with properties? Generally, component properties, component properties allow to modify the component according to the requirements. Component properties allow to modify component according to the requirements. According to the requirements. So it allows to reuse and customize a component. It allows to reuse and customize a component. Reuse and customize a component. Right. So properties control the behavior and allow to modify the functionality. Properties control the behavior and allow to modify the functionality. So syntactically, we have export function and component name, and we have props. So here props, the props that you define, props is object type. Props is object type. Object type, that means it contains some keys and values. That means what we have to do, we need to use props dot key. So we need to configure some value into it. You know how to deal with an key and value. That props is a object type, and it can have multiple keys. That means it can have multiple properties. Multiple properties. So let's see how to use them. And now important is, this is a very regular interview question for a fresher in interviews of React. And what is the question is, here you learn JavaScript. In JavaScript, you know that every function parameter is mandatory. Can we ignore? There is no chance of ignoring the parameters of a function. It is mandatory to pass every parameter. That means you know that JavaScript functions officially directly don't support function overloads. There is no function overloading. Then what is the point here is, you can use the function. If it is parameterized, it is mandatory to pass the parameter. There is no chance of optional parameters. You cannot ignore parameters. Parameters are mandatory and they have order dependency also. That means in which order you configured, in the same order you need to pass the parameter. You know that every parameter is mandatory. Mandatory, it is required. So here the point is, suppose you designed so many components all these days. Wherever you want, you can easily access and use it. That means the components without properties are directly accessible and reusable. But component with properties need to be controlled with parameters. Components with properties need to be controlled by using whom? Parameters. If you don't pass parameters, they don't work. If a component is having properties, you need to pass the properties. Otherwise, they don't work. So if a component is controlled by the properties, then it is called controlled component. And the components which are not controlled by the properties, we call them uncontrolled components. So in React, out of 100 interviews, 99 interviews have this question. What are controlled components? What are uncontrolled components? Tell me, what are uncontrolled components? Uncontrolled components means the components that doesn't require any properties. And if a component requires some properties and it is managed through properties only, then it is called as control. Because you have to control it. You have to control it by passing values. Otherwise, you cannot manage. So this is very important. So component with properties. Component with properties is known as controlled component. Why it is called controlled component is known as controlled component, because Why it is control component? Because parent component controls by passing the properties. Parent component controls by passing the properties. So parent component controls by passing the param properties. So that means it is controlled. It is controlled by the data passed from parent component. It is controlled by the data passed from parent component. From parent component, we pass the data, and according to the data, it will work. If you don't pass any data, then it cannot function because every component property is mandatory. So component with properties. So we have controlled component. Controlled and uncontrolled component means this. So component without properties are known as uncontrolled components. Is known as uncontrolled component. So we have controlled and uncontrolled. So let's see how we can design this. So how we can create a component which can be controlled by the parent component by passing some data. That means we need to create a component in such a way that you can reuse it. Now, have you seen when you used formic components, they created formic field. How they created the field component for you? Field component have a type. Which type you can use, that you decide. Whether you want text, whether you want number, you decide. You tell which type, it will input, it will show you input of that type. That means formic have components like error message, like form, like field. They designed in such a way that they have some properties which you pass. According to that, they can change. That means you can use the component with custom values, whatever requirements you have. Let's see how to design this. What I will do now, I will create a separate folder. Let's put a separate folder in SRC, custom components. I will put a separate folder, custom components. And in this, I will add one new file, that is, so navbar component. This is just navbar.jsx. So we want to create export function. So navbar, that is the component we want to create. And what it should return. So we will put a simple first fragment with container fluid. That means now we are designing one component here. And what this component have to do is it should display company name, menus, and show you. That means now what I have to do is this navbar is expecting some properties. Remember, this is a formal parameter. You can give any name, X, Y, Z, A, B, C, anything. but traditionally they represent properties. That's the reason we use the word props. It doesn't matter anything you can use. Now, what is its data type? Object type. Properties are object type with key and values. So here, what we do is we will create a nav. It is a HTML navigation. We will put a div. In the div, we will put a span. Here we will put a class. So in the class, we have font weight bold and we have font size some 5. Actually, this is the location where we want the company name in navbar. That means we want the title or we want the brand name. Title we want here. So navbar related title will come here. So what we do is which title that they will decide. So we will get it from props. In the props, we will put a key, a dynamic key by name. What is the property name? Property name I am expecting as brand, brand title, something. That is a property name. Your wish, but you should be very careful with capitalization because case sensitive. Properties are case sensitive. So brand title, uppercase, title case I given, every word first letter caps. Okay, fine. That means brand title will come here. Okay, there is another container. In this container, I need to generate all the items that they have provided. That means home, about, contact, whatever they want. Whatever they want, menu items you have to collect and you need to display them here in the form of links, in the form of buttons, anything you can do that. So now what we are expecting a collection of strings because home, about, contact, these are all collection of strings. I will put a binding expression. And what we will do is we will use props dot menu items. Menu items, we are expecting this property as array. This one we are expecting as string. This one I am expecting as array. Then I will use a map. I will use a map. I will read every item. And for every item, I will design a span. And in this span, I will display the item. So your wish, you later put it as anchor or anything, button type, anything you can do. I will just put some class mx. So px padding left, right. I will give as some 3. Some gap will come between them. And you know that every repeating element should have a key. Key is what? Item. Okay, that means we are expecting 2 properties in a navbar. One is title, another one is menu items. Brand title and menu items. Okay. Now we will keep another division. Here we are creating a div. So we have a text box. Input type is text. And this is class as form control. And we have a placeholder. We will have a placeholder and we say search. So we have a button. So class as btn, some btn and btn some warning or something because we will decide the colors later. So warning and bi search, bi search, and this we will keep as input group. Input group we are giving that. Okay. Now this navbar will have a class dflex, display flex, flex. Okay. And justify content between Display flex and justify content between padding is 2. I will just add a border, and border is 1. We have a border, we have a padding, and all these options we have. Okay. Now navbar is ready. Navbar is ready. This navbar is expecting some data from you. What are the two properties navbar is having? Brand title, another one menu items. Okay. So now we don't run this navbar directly. Why? Because its intention is to use in another location. Why you created a component? We want to reuse it in different places. So what I am doing now, I am creating one component. I am adding a component, a new folder, home, right? And I will use here home.jsx. Okay, I will write a function. So export function home, and it should return a division. And here I will just keep a heading just for your understanding sake. This is home component, home page. This is some home page. Now I will start with this home page. So we are starting with the home page, and you can see that we are starting from the home page. This home page is having some container fluid. Okay. Now what we want is, in this home page, we want a nav bar. So we have to import the custom component we created. What is our component name? Nav bar. It is present in dot dot slash come out of the current folder, dot dot slash come out of custom components folder. Go to custom components folder and access this navbar. Okay. Now where to use this navbar? Here I want a navbar. We can use a navbar component like this. Now this is our own component, but it is expecting two properties. What are those properties? One property is what? Brand title. What is the brand title? You pass the value into it. Brand title is suppose like Amazon, something like this, Amazon. That is the brand title. Okay, it is expecting one more. What is it? It is expecting menu items. Menu items, it is expecting an array, because we are using a map inside that. It is expecting an array. Your wish, you create one array and use it here, or directly design an array. So you can create one array in a state or in a variable, and you can use it here. I am directly writing that array. In this array, we want home, and we want like shop. So we want like contact. So we want like offers, something like this. That means we are giving, so deals, sale, something like this. Now, what you do is you see your home, the navbar is ready. So we have a navbar with whatever components we want. Now everybody can use this navbar with whatever content they want. That means what you can do here is, I want in the next, I want another, this is like suppose Amazon I'm giving. Amazon, okay. Here I will use another one. Suppose I am giving Flipkart. And what we want here is Flipkart also a navbar. And what is the brand title? Brand title is what? Flipkart. And what are the menu items? Menu items we need as what? So we need menu items as suppose deals. So we have like electronics. So we have like fashion. So like this we are giving anything, two items, one item, anything. So now you can see that. So this is going to display like this. That means it is having a different one. Now here you are making changes here. Suppose we are adding some home and you can see it is going to add that. Now tell me how to design a nav bar so that I can customize its colors also. That means nav bar needs a property which will change the color theme of that particular nav bar. It can change the color theme of that nav bar. That means, remember, not only color theme, you can even design in such a way that it can change its orientation. Orientation means it can be vertical, it can be horizontal, right? So we have to design for every situation. That means, for example, how you can change the color theme. So go to the custom component navbar. Here, this navbar should able to change its theme, color theme. Then what we will do is we will use this class names. Already class names are there. So into the class names, what we are doing, I make this as binding expression. I am writing like a binding expression. I am writing this as a binding expression. And you can make it with a backtick or you can just put this one. And what you can do here, this is a backtick. And here you can add a binding one. We will put props. Props dot, I will use theme. I will use a property called theme. That means now what it is happening is it is expecting a theme also. So that means now you pass the theme into this. Theme is what type? Theme is a string type. Now it will be applied there. So we have to go to home and for this nav bar, we will use what? Theme property. Into that, I will pass the theme as BG dark. BG dark is the theme, then it will be dark. I will put text white. That means it will put that theme there. For the second one, I'm adding a theme. I'm adding a theme. So this is BG warning. BG warning. Then you can see that it changes like this. So we are using some BG success. So it is going to change like this. That means it is going to add that theme. That means you can change it. So we have like text white. It is changing that. We can modify anything. That means, remember, this nav bar is a component which is controlled by the data coming from the parent. So nav bar is not a uncontrolled component, it is an controlled component. Controlled component means it can control, we can control by sending the data into it. And here, when you are dealing with this, so if you want, you can change the orientations and everything. For that, we need to write a logic. We need to write a condition. So I will show you that point also. But here, what we have to do. So the properties here. So the properties will be passed like this here. We have Okay. So we have the components, how they deal with C. Export function, the component, we have props, and what it should return some container which will use dynamically props dot key one, something like this. Just roughly. So how do we access component and key one is equal to value? That's how we pass. So a component property can handle any type of data. So primitive or non-primitive can handle any type of data, the primitive type or non-primitive type. Right. So this example I will give, what you have to do is add a new folder, custom components. So add a new file, navbar.jsx. Here we will put this code. The navbar.jsx, this is the code. And we have to use this in any place we want. In any location, we can use it. So I will give another one. So add home.jsx component. So this home.jsx component allows you to access and use. Same like how Bootstrap people designed their navbar, we designed our own. That means we created such component. Now here, the components can change the complete behavior also. That means a component can be designed in such a way that it can change the complete behavior. Complete behavior means in one situation it looks like one, in another situation it looks another. For example, we saw shopping cart. We created fake store. In that all products we displayed like cards. Now we can make a choice to user. We can ask them how you want to display, like cards or like grid. Grid means in a tabular form. Card means in a card style. That means user must able to change the layout. Now, how you design a component which can completely change the layout? When dynamically it can be controlled. Dynamically you tell how you want. That means here, what you can do is we can put a drop down and we can say select a color. Am I right? And when they are selecting, that should be applied to this here. That means we must able to dynamically pass some values. We must able to change its complete appearance. If a component can change the appearance and functionality according to the situation dynamically, then it uses a concept called conditional rendering. It is also a very popular concept in interviews. What is conditional rendering? How we implement this conditional rendering? Conditional rendering means a component renders different content according to the situation. In one situation, it will render one content. In another situation, it will render another content. How you design a component that it can render different contents according to the situation. That is the concept of what? Conditional rendering. Conditional rendering. That means you must able to change dynamically. That is also possible through these parameters only, but you need a logic in such a way that it can change. We call this mechanism as what? Conditional rendering. And how this conditional rendering works, that we will see next session. Tomorrow we will do that, right? In tomorrow's session, we are going to learn more examples on component properties. Tomorrow we will learn one more example, how to design like a grid. Grid means you pass your own data. According to your data, it will design a grid. Grid means tabular form. But the table data you decide. You present which you want specific data, it will create a grid for that particular data. We will see how that works using conditional rendering. So tomorrow we'll continue. Okay, right.